welcome. Welcome to the Bloomington Rotary Club celebration of July 12th. It's wonderful to see you all here in the room and as well everybody online. It's great to see everybody here today. I'm Alain Barker, and please be seated. I'll continue while you seat yourselves. My name is Alain Barker, President, and I'm thrilled to be in front of you for today's meeting. The vision for our club, I'd like to just mention it once again, is to be a diverse, I see we've got a bit of feedback there, diverse, engaged community of leaders whose fellowship and service have a significant positive impact locally and globally. We're part of I heard yesterday, 1.5 million Rotarians throughout the world, 36,000 clubs, I believe, something like that. Pretty amazing. Ron Barnes, I'd love you to come to the podium. I have something to share with you here. This is a continuation of our celebration last week. As you probably all know, Ron Barnes will be taking the helm next year, and so I have a pin to hand for you. Well, you can put it on yourself.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, so
Thank you.
I have to say that already I'm extremely grateful for his mentorship and support for everything that we're doing this year, and look forward to working with Ron this year as he prepares for next year. So let's see here. Given that we've just celebrated our Independence Day, I thought I'd return to my false step last month, which is otherwise known as a faux pas, right? And talk about Bastille Day. And so let's go ahead and put up this slide here. Okay, here we go. And sharing. Fantastic. Thank you, Chung. What is Bastille Day? Bastille Day is the common name given in the English language for the National Day of France, which is celebrated on the 14th of July in 2 days' time each year. In French, it's formerly known as Fête Nationale Française. The French National Day is the anniversary of the storming of the Bastille on July 14th, 1789. And I didn't know this. The following year, there was the establishment of the French state in 1790. So it's actually 1790 that we're celebrating as much as 1789. And as for United States anniversaries, I looked at July 12th and see if I can remove this along. And believe it or not, we have Eat Your Jell-O Day. It's also the National Different Colored Eyes Day, the National Pecan Pie Day, the National Simplicity Day, National Paper Bag Day, and finally, Cow Appreciation Day, which is the second Tuesday in July. So I hope that you all remember that for posterity. Okay, so let's move on to something. I want to return to last week. I mentioned last week that I didn't have time. Actually, I did have time, but I was afraid that I would not have time to show a video. What we're doing this year is to interview random members of our club about why they belong to the club and their vision for Rotary. This year, as you know, our theme is Imagine Rotary. And so for everything that we do and every way that we do it, I'm really hoping that we're going to be able to step back, think about who we are, why we do what we do, and perhaps frame it in a little different ways. We have people who've been part of this club for many, many years. We have newcomers. And this is a very exciting opportunity for us to reimagine what might be before us. So let's listen to Charlotte Zietlow to begin with here. And let's hope that it all works. There we go.
I feel Rotary plays a role in the community, and I want to be part of the community at every level. And it plays a special role because it isn't political, and it isn't religious, and you can meet people on personal grounds. Just, you're fun to sit at the table with because you say silly things or whatever. And also the goals, these four-way tests. But the purpose, what I like is the international flavor, most of all, that it is an international, and we see the world as part of each other's lives. There is this sense that you're part of the world, and the world is kind of difficult to reach in other ways. But this is, you're kind of.
Oops.
the
Right. Let's see. Do you want to just press play, John?
forgiveness comes with it. You're accepted because you're in Rotary, and people take that part, that as a sign of goodwill. You know, I just think that it could be a forum for local issues, international issues. It could be a place where we bring things in. It's a comfortable, not dangerous place to raise issues that are complicated. There are issues that divide our community, and that have to be resolved by bringing the community together to solve them. You know, one of them is the homeless issue, or the not enough affordable housing, or the ruination of neighborhoods, or the change of the feel of the town. I'm going to put this together with something else that just happened. We had that nice little musical afternoon, and Craig Spence was there. And I don't know Craig Spence at all. For reasons it's not my fault, but we sat next to each other, and I said, "So Craig," I said, "are you interested in music?" He said, "Well, I'm a concert pianist." I said, "You are? I had no idea." I thought, how much of what goes on in the people that are in the room that we don't know about. You know, I'm trying to make it my business to talk to people I don't usually talk to. So we have a lot of amazing people.
Thank you, Charlotte. And I hope that Charlotte is with us online today. Thank you so much, Charlotte, for being part of this club and for being my sponsor at the beginning of my time here at the Rotary Club. Okay, so we're going to move on now to our guests. Michael Shermas, do you want to come up and welcome our guests?
We here in Rotary have a time-honored tradition of introducing our guests and asking them to stand and be recognized. So first, would Liz Mitchell please stand? She is a guest of Jim Bright's. Welcome. And Jamil Guzal is a guest of Katie Beck's. Thanks all. There we go.
Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. Okay, Lauren Snyder, I think that we've got an initiative to announce here, if you want to come up and let us know about it. It's a very, very exciting program that I think you've already heard about, but Lauren's here to tell us about it.
Thank you, Alon. Yeah, you're going to hear from me a lot. For this year, officially as of July 1st, I am now the Bloomington Rotary Club Foundation Chair. And our initiative in the foundation, once again, Bloomington Rotary Club Foundation, significant distinction between the Rotary International Foundation, but our goal for this year is to move towards fully endowing our scholarships that we give on an annual basis. Okay, so those who aren't math or finance majors, we currently have about $50,000 with our local community foundation, which distributes earned income on an annual basis. We have $50,000 earned income of approximately 5%, which we get and help subsidize our $7,500 that our club gives out in community scholarships on an annual basis. So doing the math, we need to grow our endowment at the community foundation to approximately $250,000 at 5% to endow our $7,500 on an annual basis. So our goal is to grow our current endowment through many different means. The one-sheeter, two-sheeter, front and back that you have in front of you explains some ways that everybody can get engaged and involved with what we're trying to do. I'm calling it the fountain of youth, right? Creating scholarships in perpetuity. We're trying to fund these scholarships on an annual basis via our quote-unquote fountain of youth. I am asking everybody to give at a personally appropriate level. I understand this may not be one's passion, this may not be one's cause that they are motivated and excited about, but if we all contribute, we can move towards, and that could be in much more complex ways like qualified charitable distributions from a retirement account, or, life insurance beneficiaries, IRA beneficiaries. We're going to do this like a university campaign. You can just verbally let me know, and I'll document all this. I'm currently allocating approximately 5% of my IRA or life insurance policy, and give me an approximate amount. That might not come to fruition, obviously, hopefully for many years. But we're going to do that, and that's how a university would do that campaign. We are very fortunate that to stimulate the cause, we have so far, and I'm looking for one more, we have 4 people who have generously decided they will match $10,000 if we get to that number. So if we simply get 5, we'll have $50,000, assuming the rest of the body, the community, the membership are able to raise the other $50,000. So that would be 100 plus the 50 we currently have towards our $250,000 goal. So with that, anybody that has any questions, please feel free to follow up with me after the meeting, email, call, whatever. I'll be happy to answer and meet with you over coffee if you would like to support in some way. And I'll also continue to update you like I did for the well of our international project. We'll let you know where we stand on that. So thank you for your consideration, and we'll keep you up to date. I think I kept it in a couple minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren. And for me, this is just the most transformational thing that I can imagine. Coming out of the beginning of the year to establish something like this as a project for our club is just truly inspirational. Thank you, Lauren. And thank you to the 4 members who've already stepped up to the plate and made it possible for this really extraordinary initiative to take root. So we have another announcement from Ron Barnes, if you want to come forward.
Thank you. Teachers Warehouse needs your help on July 30th. It's the time when we have our supply drive. It's an annual event where we ask our colleagues in Rotary to stand out in front of the 3 Kroger stores and also Office Depot and Staples, handing out our wish list for parents that are coming into the stores that day to pick up school supplies. We have 3 shifts that day. First shift is from 10 until noon. The second is noon until 2, and then 2 till 4. Again, Natalie has Sign Up Genius in the roundabout. I just encourage you to sign up because we really need your help. This is all about service above self. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ron. And as you noticed last week, I sent you an email on Tuesday afternoon, and I'm going to be sending some links to you this afternoon as well. I hope that we're not pestering you too much with information here. By the way, if you've not logged into your Box account, perhaps you could do so this afternoon as well. Okay, well, we have 3 more announcements here. The Rotary Book Club meets tomorrow, Wednesday, at 7 p.m. at Cindy Neidhart and Dave Meyer's home. Thank you very much to both of them for hosting this. The first quarter lunch buddies. The lists are on your table. If you've not yet connected to your lunch buddy, please do so sometime soon and go and have fun, enjoy a concert together. There's actually a fabulous concert this evening at 8 o'clock in Our Hall if you want to go there. And then also we've got our sign-ups for just general activity for our meetings if you want to look out for that as well. Okay, let's see what the time is. I think there is time for a few minutes of happy dollars. So Michael Shermis is going to run around the room, and if anybody online wants to be able to celebrate something, I'll just simply mention that it's my daughter's 19th birthday today, so I'm very happy. Yes? Okay, who wants to go next? Lynn. And if you're online and you'd like to say something, just raise your hand and we'll bring you in.
I've got a few happy dollars. I took a vacation and didn't check my work email for 3 days.
Okay, microphone's not working for some reason.
Mic's not working.
Is it on? It is on.
Tess?
Okay. So,
I have a few dollars to be very happy for my daughter who is starting a new job at NYU Law School and is moving as of Thursday. We just spent a week in New York City looking for a place to live, and I'm so happy that she found a great place.
All right.
I have a couple of happy dollars. One, because I'm excited that Jamil started in our office this week at the law school, at this law school. And another happy dollar because many of you know my husband David and his band Matixando. I'm happy because they are playing at Lotus Fest again this year on the Thursday night in Dunn Meadow.
And we've been gone 3 weekends in a row to Patrick's family, extended family reunion, my high school reunion, and then my extended family reunion. And we had wonderful times and had not seen most of those people for a while. So come all the way around.
Sarah on Zoom.
Okay, go ahead, yes.
Unmute, Sarah.
Somebody on Zoom was chatting to us here.
I'm actually happy because I'm in New York City right now, Maryland, where my son is also moving to New York. They just made an offer on a condo yesterday, so fingers crossed for that. And eating lots of good bagels and hope to be home soon.
Great, thank you, Sarah. Okay, let's go 2 more and then we need to move on.
I just want to say that I am so happy to be back in the club again after a brief time away, and I've missed all of you so much. I'm just very happy to be here. So
Liz,
thank
it's
you.
great to have you with us. Okay, we got one here. Martha's got something to share.
I am happy because my glasses are clean with the rotary lens cleaner that I received last week.
That's fantastic. Good. Okay, so here we go. Thank you so much, everybody. That was really wonderful. We have our speaker today, very, very excited, and I believe that Sarah Laughlin is going to rejoin us on Zoom and introduce our guest. Do you want to do that?
Yes, I'm back. Thank you, first of all, to Glenda, who backed me up when I wasn't sure I could be there. But my grandson, Elio, started Montessori school yesterday, so I'm able to be with you today. I'm really happy to introduce Jonah Crismore. He's the executive director of the Buzzkirk Chumley Theater, and he's been there since March 16th of 2020. So wrap your mind around that day and date, and you'll realize that that's just 3 days after the shutdown order. So he entered when the stage was dark and there was really nothing to the Buzzkirk Chumley except the marquee. And he figured out how we could use the marquee to get hopeful and positive messages out to the community during that time. And since then, we've been working our way back, and he'll probably tell you a little bit about that journey along the way. But he comes to us with 10 years of experience in theaters. He was the chief programming officer at the Embassy Theater, another historic theater in Fort Wayne. And before that, the executive director of the Cinema Center, a film arts organization in Fort Wayne, where he started the Hobnobbin Film Festival. And he also has a degree in film studies, so that's his passion. Before the pandemic, the Buzzkirk Chumley Theater had attracted about 58,000 theater goers, performance goers every year, and had a budget of about $1 million a year. And of course, the last couple of years have been very anomalous. But so in addition to the usual duties of the CEO of a nonprofit, including, the budget, care of the facility, in our case, 100 years old, the programming, staff leadership, reporting to the board, strategic planning, community partnerships, fundraising, Jonah had to reimagine and re-envision and rejigger every single one of those during the pandemic. So as the theater emerges, we feel like there's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for us to celebrate the theater this year because it is our 100th anniversary, and to celebrate the theater's past and also its anchoring role in the future. And we're calling it our Neon Centennial in honor of our marquee. So thank you, Jonah, for being there. I'm sorry I can't be there in person.
Good, yes. Yeah.
Oh, you said it, okay. Okay. Well, thank you guys so much for, thank you, Sarah, for that introduction, and thank you guys so much for coming in to hear me speak. Yeah, it's been strange. It's been, it was moving to Bloomington, moving at a time when it was just, we were just talking about it. When I moved to Bloomington, like we weren't showing houses and everything like that. It was just a very weird, time, and a very scary time as well, because it was just one cancellation after another, one reschedule after another, and now they're coming in much less frequency, but it's still happening from time to time. So we're not out of the woods completely yet, but the BCT is figuring out ways in which it can engage with the community again, figure out a way to engage with new audiences, as well as, figure out ways in which we can make our facility feel safe and those experiences natural again. So I just, we're here because we want to talk about our Centennial season that's going to be coming up. And I'll talk a little bit about the BCT, because something that I've noticed since I've started at the BCT is everybody has a different idea about what we are. Sometimes it's pretty close. Sometimes it's a little off. We are not Constellation. That our cardinal stage previously. That's what some folks believe, and I'll just go into a little bit about that. So went too far. There we go. So that's us. That's BCT management. Pretty fun photo of the staff there. So the mission of the BCT Management Inc. is to manage the Buskirk Chumley Theater in a fiscally responsible manner, as widely accessible, quality venue and performance space. We are a separate nonprofit organization, but we are contracted by the city of Bloomington to manage that theater. So while the city of Bloomington gives us financial support in order to fulfill those obligations, we are not by any means fully funded by the city, which is I'm sure most people in this room are familiar with that, but I do come across that very often, where people just believe that the city of Bloomington takes care of all of our needs. And while that would be amazing if that was the case, it just isn't the case. We really consider ourselves the nexus of the Bloomington performing arts scene. And that's because everybody takes advantage of our stage. We say the BCT stands for Buskirk Chumley Theater, but also Bloomington's Community Stage, or Bloomington's Community Theater. Yes. Oh. Is this better? All right, sorry about that. So, we are mostly utilized throughout the year as a rental facility. IU Arts and Humanities is a big renter of us, but we also have the Jacob School in there quite often, with IU Jazz. Various speakers come through Department of English, things along those lines. The newly formed Constellation Group, they do their annual holiday show there. Takes up the whole month of December, which is really exciting for us because that's a month that we just don't have to worry about. And Bloomington Symphony Orchestra is another one that comes in fairly regularly. We also are a host site for Lotus Festival, which was just mentioned, as well as Limestone Comedy Festival, which is really exciting for us. We do receive support from the city because they do consider us as an essential cultural arts piece of infrastructure. And then also we do our BCT Presents series, and those are usually concerts, could be comedy, could be speakers, and then also our film series that we bring in that we as the BCT fully take on that risk and present that to the community. But when people ask, in a nutshell of what we do, it's really we're what adds soul to that building. That building's been around for 100 years. We're going to talk a little bit about the history in a second of the building, but the building that I believe is the best theater in the state of Indiana. It's the reason why my wife and I left Fort Wayne, where I was working at another historic venue, in order to leave that. So, a little bit about the theater. It was opened in December 11th, 1922 by Harry and Nova von der Schmidt. That was a family-run business until Nova's death in 1974, when they sold that to Carasolis. Is there people here who remember the theater from that era? I bet there are. See, and it was primarily a movie house. I mean, that's another great thing about so many of the folks from the community that come up to me and they tell me, like, I saw Star Wars there and it rekindled my love of science fiction, or, I saw I saw Jaws there and I'm still afraid to go in the water and everything like that. It happens, I'd say it happens quite often. Or they tell me about how they would like make a day of going from, maybe they would do a matinee at the Indiana Theater, then go over to the Von Lee for something. So it's just really great that the theater, the Indiana Theater was in such great hands, and I do believe the fact that it was so much family run, kind of the headquarters of the Vonderschmidt family, who owned several theaters throughout central Indiana. That's the reason why. Yeah, and then the first film to show there was The Storm. It's a silent film. It's not really widely available anymore. I believe me, I've been trying to find ways in which we can get a print of it. There's not a lot of prints available. It's like and not ones that like would be in a state where they'd be able to be shown in a non-archival setting. Something I find really, really amazing and interesting is the original capacity was 1,300 in that space. And then when they would sell out a screening there, that would be about 10% of the population of Bloomington at that time would be under that roof. There's a quote from the Bloomington Daily Telephone. I find it kind of weirdly worded, but I also feel like it's kind of very pertinent to what we are doing with the Centennial. And that is a thing of beauty, a joy forever, or a long time to say the least. And that we have stewarded that. BCT management has, taken up the reins of ensuring that that building is maintained, that it's going to be around for much longer, hopefully for another 100 years. Here's some photos of, courtesy of the Monroe History Center. There's a crowd at the Indiana Theater in the 1920s. I like the picture of the Indiana Theater Band because it shows that they were they had some live performances, but it was like a thing that would sometimes be ways in which it would warm up before movies and things like that. You could see the curtains down in front of the screen. I just really, really like that. You can see it then that it was a performing arts space in a movie theater. I couldn't find a file type for it, but there was, kind of the castle facade that was in the building at the time. And, that was something that was very much a part of, the Vonderschmidt's aesthetic. It was very, their home was very much modeled after castles. And, this fact they brought in, the chandelier from Czechoslovakia was very much of the era. Make it feel very ornate and, something special. The fire of 1933, it's kind of one of the coolest and kind of more mysterious parts of the Indiana Theater history. $200,000 in damage, about $4 million in today's dollars. The causes, they know it was an arsonist, but as to who that arsonist was, nobody really knows. The police believed it was a pyromaniac that was going around setting fires. The Vonderschmidts believed probably it was something to do with a labor dispute with the projectionist union. And there was several other disputes throughout Bloomington's theater history at that time where it was a lot of vandalism and things like that. I think it was in the 50s. It was quite common for the projectionists when there were disputes with management to put stink bombs and disrupt screenings that way. The Roxy Theater, it happened a lot. I believe that is kind of over by where Social Cantina is now. But it happened at the Indiana Theater as well. But that was just very much a product of that time. And then also I really find it interesting just the lengths at which the Vonderschmidt family would take to promote films, having that horse out there. That was just one of many, many ways in which they try to find fun and exciting, interesting ways to promote the films that were at the Indiana Theater. So as far as kind of like how did it get from being what the Indiana Theater as a movie house and in private ownership for many, the vast majority of its existence, how did it become a performing arts organization? Well, Crismore took over the Indiana Theater in 1976, and they had it for, a little under about 20 years. Then they closed that location. From that, then the Bloomington Arts Council headed the massive transformation and turning it into a performing arts space. It was Crismore basically gave it over under condition that it would no longer be a first-run theater. Still could have film programming. It just has to be the repertory films that we continue to show to this day. Thanks to the community support from the Chumley family. They were the descendants of the Buskirks, a founding family of Bloomington. The Buskirk Chumley Theater opened in 1999. And even though Norris Chumley is no longer in Bloomington, he's still very much an active part of, he's very of the BCT story. He likes having regular updates. I meet with him somewhat regularly and kind of talking to him about just where things are with the theater. He had a lot of concerns about how the theater was going to survive the pandemic, just like most theaters were having it. And then after the city gained control, that's when the nonprofit BCT Management, which I'm the executive director of, was formed with the sole purpose of managing that building. And then after that, it became pretty much what we know of today. And there's a lot of great things that happened within that time. I mean, I'm filling really big shoes. My predecessor, Danielle McClellan, was the first executive director of the BCT. She did a great job of getting it off the ground. I mean, I still talk to her periodically from time to time, and she tells a lot of great stories about in those early days where she'd be running concessions and having to run off to go do the curtain speech or run back because nobody was there to do concessions at the time. It was very, very small staffed about how she had to use, she was a journalist for a while and using all connections through being a music journalist in order to try to get, the Indigo Girls who would, even back then, were probably too big for our theater to have them develop a relationship. And that's actually kind of how we're able to get some of the acts that we do. Bela Fleck can easily fill a much larger room than the Buskirk Chumley Theater. But he comes back every year because he loves Bloomington and he loves the space. Lucinda Williams, a similar story. She can fill a larger space, but she loves Bloomington. And then you ask them why, and it's all the things that you would think makes Bloomington great, along with, to tell you the truth, a lot of people like the fact that you can't get food normally on a tour that you can get like on 4th Street here. So that actually is turned into kind of like almost like a marketing and trying to get more folks over here, telling them about like we actually have a Burmese restaurant, we have, and great Thai food, everything else that goes on there. So that's something that's been kind of, really, really interesting. And then, as Danielle left and transitioned, and good for her for stewarding the theater for as long as it did, then we came for me to take over, and it's just kind of unfortunate because when I started talking to the BCT about applying for the position and everything, it's still in 2019, so the pandemic just really wasn't. The pandemic, was starting. There was things we were hearing whispers, but we didn't realize it was going to have the impact. I still remember this to this. I think it was a couple days. Our moving truck was completely full of, getting ready. I was to start Monday the 16th, and this was, I believe, Thursday because it was a board meeting day. And I asked if I could get on the call for the board meeting that was talking about the sold-out show of Guster the next day was going to have to be closed due to the order. And I just think back to that conversation and listening on the phone of people saying, well, if we have to be closed for 2 weeks, that's going to be a problem, but 4 weeks is going to be a really big problem. And 16 months later, we were finally able to start having shows. And then that was a whole set of circumstances we had to deal with, which was, how to comply with the mask mandate, how do we comply with artists who are still having, every single artist has a different level of comfort that they want to do. And we really had to kind of rewrite the rules as, in our staff book, and that just how our event staff, our hospitality staff deals with the artists, and, just had to do everything differently. And not saying that COVID is behind us, because it definitely isn't, but we do have this time, this great opportunity to celebrate our building. Our building is really, really special. It seems like, there's not a ton of historic theaters that are kept in the way it was, that have this love of the community that it does, that has the support of the community that that the Busker Chumley Theater has. You know, you talk to a lot of other historic theaters, it seems like they have these kind of fits and starts where they're kind of get things going and it kind of goes out, another group takes over. We've not had that, and we're very fortunate in that, and we're able to keep, and I believe that's mostly due to the fact that the city has recognized how important we are, and that are how we elevate the other businesses around us, how they, you know, farm, Uptown love it when we have a sold out show because there's so many people go there for dinner beforehand or grab a drink or something. And that is, you know, part of the way in which all the arts and culture in Bloomington help just elevate the whole experience in this community. So starting in August of 2022, so just in right around the corner, a month away, we're going to start our Centennial season. We have a few kickoff events that were kind of not meant to be kickoff events, but because of rescheduling, it happened that way. So Robert Cray is going to be one of our first big concerts that we're kind of using as kind of a de facto kickoff event for the Centennial season to show off what we're doing. We really want to use this opportunity to highlight the history of our amazing building. Glenda Murray here, she's been helping out with the history of that, so thank you so much for that, and finding all these stories, and also finding the people who are involved with it. And it's amazing for me, just the fact that, you know, you'll be talking to somebody and they're like, oh, I'm actually, you know, a descendant somewhat of the Bonder Schmidts, and I have this particular thing. Or like Sue Talbot, who's still around and everything. She's, you know, her father was a projectionist who just went in for a job when he was 16 and ended up staying in the theater for 60 years, you know. And it's like stories like that, which is, you know, I just can't, my brain can't comprehend. And the fact that she has a teddy bear that was made out of the curtain that was from after the fire in the building. It's just, you know, there's just a lot of stories like that. And we really want to use the Centennial as a way in which to amplify and to tell those stories. We really do want to engage new audiences as well. There's a lot of different reasons for this. One of them is just that because of the pandemic, our core audience is not coming to the theater as often as they were prior to the pandemic. And it also, it's just in order for us to be sustainable for another 100 years, it's just, you know, it's essential that we engage with new audiences. So that's bringing in different kinds of artists, bringing in artists that maybe appeal to folks who are a little bit younger, or maybe people who have, you know, traditionally not felt particularly welcome in our theater for a variety of reasons. And, you know, we really want to use connecting that with the history of how do we address that, how do we learn from that, and how can we have that as a way in which to cultivate new audiences. And then part I'm excited about, because I'm a programming guy. I mean, I know everybody here has a different connection, and there's different ways in which, you know, there's, you know, on our staff, you know, you definitely look at people, you know, they just love the thrill of the event side of things. They love it when things get really busy and unpredictable, and that just, the adrenaline drives them that way. I'm someone that believes strongly that it's the programming in which it kind of enters. That is how most people are entering the building, and the reason why. I mean, you're coming to the building because you want to see this particular comedian at Limestone. You're coming to the building because you want to see this particular concert. You're a fan of Robert Cray. You're a fan of Bela Fleck. Something, you know. How can we change that? How can we maybe take some, you know, lessons from other venues, but also looking at how we want the venue to evolve, and not just have, which unfortunately, but I think the whole organization is completely honest about it, for a long time has been just, you know, older white guys with acoustic guitars have really been keeping that going. And, you know, not saying we need to get rid of them, but how can we bring other folks to the stage? So we're going to have 4 programming tent poles for our Centennial. One of them is film, because we are, you know, we want to show off the fact that for, you know, the first 75 plus years of the theater's existence, it was primarily a film house. We're going to have an Indiana film series, which some of those have been announced, so you can go to buskerchumley.org to find out about those. But we're going to be showing a film from every decade that the theater's been around that has some sort of Indiana connection. So, you know, in November, we're going to be showing Rebel Without a Cause because of James Dean. We're going to be showing the old Steve McQueen film, Bullet, because Steve McQueen was actually born in Indiana, and I didn't know that. Showing Howard Hawks' film because he's from my neck of the woods in Goshen, Indiana. Um, and also Brendan Fraser, a lot of people don't know, he's actually grew up in Indianapolis. So we'll be showing The Mummy to honor that as well. So, and also he seems, as a lot of my younger staff have been telling me, he's having quite the renaissance right now. And then our silent film series is something else that we're doing that's going to be The Passion of Joan of Arc. And then we're going to be showing Body and Soul, the Oscar Michaud film, which is it's a pinnacle film of Black cinema with a live soundtrack from DJ Spooky, he's an artist, he's a musician, he's a DJ. He also is really into film history, and he's a bit of a scholar. So we are going to be working with the Black Film Center in regards to that to make sure that we are highlighting a film that definitely did not show at the Indiana Theater, but definitely needs to be seen. And then hopefully with DJ Spooky's live music accompanying it, will give it a modern context and make it accessible to a modern audience. Yeah, the Passion of Joan of Arc will also have a live soundtrack from George Sarah, who's a film composer from Los Angeles. And then for Halloween, we're going to be showing Nosferatu, which is also turning 100. So it's having a good time. It's just a great opportunity to show off another film that came out the same year as the theater did. Music is just kind of the backbone of what the BCT is known for now. We're going to be showing off some new diverse artists. That we are showing, have it on there, but Nella is going to be coming. Nella is, she's an up and coming Latin artist. She does, you see that she has a Grammy for Best New Artist. And she's very much, she's basically just a pop star that's waiting to explode. And we're very, very fortunate we're going to have her in October, which is also coincidentally, we didn't plan it this way, but it is during Hispanic Heritage Month when she's going to be here. So that's one of the many, many concerts we're going to be having. And like I said on here, as long as longtime favorites, we're going to have, we were talking with Gregory Allen Isikoff about coming back. He did a really great set a couple years ago, and then also trying to get some of the artists who had to cancel or reschedule because of the pandemic to come back. Poetry is a really interesting one for us because I don't think a lot of people associate it with the theater, but poetry is a way in which to engage with artists, so art can actually be made at the theater. We're going to be opening up our marquee to basically allow local poets to use the marquee to put poems on there, and hopefully making the limitations and the character counts that our marquee allows to make that into an asset. And it's also going to be showing off the marquee because I'm sure you guys have heard that the city has invested, a lot of money into doing some TLC on our marquee because several of the lights, neon, and chaser bulbs and things like that were all out, as well as needing to convert some of the lighting to LED. And then podcasts we're going to have a podcast festival in April of 2023. We're going to have podcasts recorded on our stage, and then those for later broadcasts that will have an audience that will all over the world. So this is something that we're hoping it's more of a showing off a more new and modern medium that will also be a part of just what the BCT is about. And we've had some podcasts, especially during Limestone. A lot of comedians have podcasts, so we've had some live podcast performances in the past, but this is one that we are going to for sure want to make into an annual event and something people can look forward to. And the BCT's birthday party, mark the calendars, November 12th, 2022. We're going to be hosting tours of the building, including backstage and off-limits areas. I love taking people backstage. For one thing, it's always like people think that you never know what they're expecting, and it's always a different response every single time. Sometimes if people are like, this is it, and then other people think it's really, really great. It's fun to take folks to those areas. Because it is our neon centennial, we can't forget that. There's going to be a lot of neon artwork and just neon on display in the theater for the birthday party. And just, it's another way in which we can engage with the community and showing off, a really cool visual art. Definitely displays on the BCT's history. There's, we had at the beginning of this, I gave you a very, very condensed version of what our history is, but there's so much more to the story, and there's so much even that happened after BCT management took control of the building. The city took control of the building, but we started managing it. That folks like Danielle McClellan can tell. People had a hand in the redesign, like Christine Matthew, a great architect here in town. And then, live entertainment will be also at the event, and we're still working out how that's all going to be worked. But yeah, I mean, this is kind of the presentation and about what is going on and what we have coming down the line. And I don't want to give away too much because we, unfortunately, we have some details that we're waiting for, kind of the August release for it. But this is kind of gives you an idea, a taste, and hopefully gives you a reason to want to come back to the theater. And one more thing too, I want to say, and one of the great things I want to come out about showing off the building at this theater is the city of Bloomington has invested a lot of money in the marquee, but as well as our HVAC system to make it a more, just make it a healthier and, make people feel much safer about coming into the space with different ultraviolet filters, things like that are aimed pretty much at killing threats such as viruses. So that's another thing. So, yeah. Thank you.
We've got time for 1 or 2 questions.
Back in a previous incarnation, I worked at the Buskirk Chimney Theater under the esteemed Danielle McClellan. 2 things that she wanted to accomplish. She wanted to make the box office for all the events in town. Has that materialized? And also, the city had the Visitors Bureau there. Is that still present?
So on a couple of things, we actually one of the projects that we're working on is along with the rebrand of the box office, we're going to have a brand new box ticketing system called Spectrix that we are partnering with Constellation about. So we're definitely going to be, kind of like almost like a co-box office with Constellation. We already do offsite ticketing for several other organizations, but there's nothing in town that I would say, is stipulating anybody has to use the BCT unless they have their event on our stage. But because we do have a professional staff running it, and because we have, just a lot of people go to our website to find out what's going around town, that we have a lot of interest in them using our box office services. So I think that is still something that is a room for us to grow. I think it's grown definitely as a result of the pandemic, but it's, while I would consider us the community box office, there are still a lot of events happening around town that don't utilize our services. And as far as the Visitors Bureau goes, at the beginning of the pandemic, Visit Bloomington left us as a visitor. They basically broke off a relationship we still have a great relationship with them, but that particular part of it, we are not considered a Visitors Bureau office anymore. Okay.
Thank you so much, Jonah. Thank you, Jonah. That was absolutely fantastic. And the Buskirk Chimney Theater for all of us is one of the real treasured spaces in Bloomington. So we're very grateful for all the work that you're doing. And in honor of your presentation today, we're going to be making a contribution to New Hope for Families, which is a new organization that we're supporting this quarter. And so I should mention that it's founded in 2011, an emergency housing solution in Monroe County that keeps families together, including families with adults and children of all ages and any composition. So I think it's a very enlightened organization. A few things that I forgot to mention. We have a birthday to celebrate, Paul Hazel. It's his birthday on July 14th. Vive la France. Congratulations. Member anniversaries, John Paul Diltz, 24 years. Congratulations to him. And Mike Wade, 5 years. So congratulations to everybody. Next week, we'll be meeting in the Georgian Room again. and on Zoom. And our speaker will be Mickey Maurer, who I think you all know the name of, who serves as chairman of the board of the IBJ Corporation. He has a career as an attorney and entrepreneur and has been involved in cable television, film production, radio broadcasting, newspaper publishing, real estate, and banking. Quite a guy. Mickey attended Indiana University of Law, School of Law, Maurer, fancy that name, and we'll talk about his latest book, The Methuselah Gene. So that should be very interesting next week. I want to thank our producer, Chung Him Chu, Jacob School of Music student, who's helping us this week, as well as Dave Meyer and Michael Shivers for helping him out. Our Zoom host extraordinaire is Joy Harder, and then Michael Shivers, thank you very much for introducing our guests as well. And our roundabout reporter for the month is Glenda Murray. Thank you so much, Glenda, for your support on that as well. Well, let's all share the four-way test. Shall we stand? And if you want to ask questions after, yes, to Jonah, you're very welcome to stay afterwards. We do have the program committee meeting as well. So, yeah. Okay, so of the things we think, say, or do, first, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? Fourth, will be beneficial to all concerned. And fifth, is it fun? Thank you all so much. See you next week.